Bine v-am regăsit! Luna martie am dedicat-o vieții, luptei pentru viață. Invitata noastră de astăzi s-a aflat dintotdeauna în lumina reflectoarelor. Tatăl ei, fostul vicepreședinte al Statelor Unite ale Americii, Mike Pence, este cel care a învățat-o că lupta pentru viață trebuie câștigată. Așadar, ea a devenit una dintre cele mai puternice voci pentru cei care nu au o voce. Doamnelor și domnilor, astăzi la Secvențe Trinitas, în exclusivitate pentru Trinitas TV, un interviu cu Charlotte Pence Bond.
Ediția de anul acesta a Marșului pentru Viață din țara noastră a avut un invitat special, Charlotte Pence Bond.
I am so honored and excited to be able to join all of you today, even if it is from far away and over a virtual format. It's so special to be able to gather and encourage one another, even from a distance. The pandemic has certainly made this past year a really difficult one. We've all experienced such a deep and profound sense of loss, something that our entire world can relate to on some level. And so it should be through that lens, I think, and with that understanding, that we come together today and we continue to talk about life and continue to spread the message of life instead of the culture of abortion that invades our world right now and causes so much pain.
How did you prepare for our event?
Well, I've talked to a lot of people, really, mostly in the U.S., about pro-life issues, and so I think it's a topic that is really relatable to people in different countries. And I think that's really the cool thing, that you can kind of talk about these issues in the same way because we're all humans and they all affect us similarly. So so just being able to speak to all of you, to everyone at the event, and then here today is just really special and really an honor for me.
La doar 27 de ani, fiica fostului vicepreședinte al Statelor Unite ale Americii, Mike Pence, este un model pentru tinerii care se implică în activități pro-viață.
How come you chose to have this battle? Because I can imagine that it is like a battle, this subject.
Yeah. It definitely can be. I think that, I used to tell people a lot that I wasn't interested in politics when I was younger. I am now. But it was funny because I ended up kind of being more interested in the pro-life topic because I think I saw it as a cultural issue, as something that I think when we talk about it with compassion, I think that you can help a lot of people. So I think that in the U.S. especially, the pro-choice side is very popular and they're very loud. And I think, I always try to see their side too and to understand that, they're not bad people necessarily, but, there's a lot of pain and there could be a lot of hurt around the topic of abortion. And so I think I just wanted to be able to talk about it in a way that would help women and men in those situations, but also help the unborn too.
And what do you do exactly to sustain life?
Yeah, I personally speak at different events. I speak to a lot of student groups. I've done some projects like video projects and things like that. I think one of the most important things is kind of just talking to people, either on social media or in your friend group to kind of just be known, I guess, as a pro-life person, because it is scary sometimes to be pro-life. I'm sure in Romania and here in the US it can be because people kind of see it as judgmental. But I think that talking one-on-one with people is one of the most important things that really all of us can do just to kind of change the story and start to say, we love people, we love everybody, and we want them to have the best life possible.
Yeah, because sometimes a woman just needs a good word to choose life. Have you ever saved a life, if I can say that?
All of us talking about it can save lives. I think that, you're very true. You're very right about that. People, I think, have a lot of fear when they're dealing with the topic of abortion necessarily. And I've spoken to women who have had abortions or who have chosen not to or have tried to reverse an abortion pill that they've taken. And they always kind of say that there's just a lot of fear around that decision. even if you're somebody who is pro-life, I mean, if you're in an unplanned pregnancy situation, that could be really scary. And so I think that when we all just talk about it in an open way and we kind of come alongside those women, like you said, and just offer them some support, I think we can all save lives.
Charlotte a crescut cu aceste valori. Prima dată când a participat la un marș pentru viață în Washington, avea doar 12 ani.
I marched when I was younger. I want to say like maybe middle school, so I was like 12 or 13. So that was really just something that I kind of grew up doing, and then I got to go back when my dad spoke at it. And so it's been just a really cool thing to see, and they've always had some way to kind of do it. And they had virtual events a little bit this year, and that was really inspiring too. And I know that so many people were kind of, still voicing their support for the unborn and for the women and men that are in those situations, even this year.
Anul trecut a vorbit în fața a mii de oameni despre ce înseamnă a fi cu adevărat pro-viață.
The abortion culture doesn't just deprive an unborn child of life, but it harms the people that she might have met. It takes away rich relationships that might have been formed. So know your reasons. My reasons are founded in my faith. They're grounded in the fact that I was taught the value of human life. But they're also backed up by other things. They're backed up by science. So do your own research, know the statistics, the ways that science continues to prove that life begins earlier and earlier than previously thought. I helped my dad actually frame his arguments for the vice presidential debate, and I got to help him train for it. And when you're preparing for something like that, you do these little mini debates where you kind of role play and you pretend that it's the real thing. And so he was doing those, and he was learning how to answer the questions that he would be probably given. And one of the most difficult ones was going to be the question about abortion. Why are you pro-life? Shouldn't a woman have the right to choose? How can you tell somebody what you think is right for them? And I remember telling him when we were practicing those answers, I told him he should speak from the heart. Speak from your heart when you're answering those. So then in the debate, he quoted Mother Teresa when she spoke to the National Prayer Breakfast in 1994. She called abortion the greatest destroyer of peace today because it is a war against the child, a direct killing of the innocent child. And my dad made the powerful point that a society can be judged by how it deals with its most vulnerable, the aged, the infirm, the disabled, and the unborn. And I believe when he did that and when he spoke that way with kindness and compassion, that he did so in a way that can change minds. And you have the power to do that too.
I heard your speech from the last year, and it was a very powerful one. And you said that a society is judged by the way it deals with the most vulnerable. What advice can you give us for our society? What can we do to make women choose life and to have a pro-life country?
They have a lot of needs when they're in that situation, and it can be a really scary thing not to know maybe what you're going to do. And so I think that if we kind of come alongside those women in the culture, in our society, and we start making it, like you said, cool to be pro-life, it is a cool thing. It is helping out the vulnerable members of the population, women who are maybe in that situation, but also the unborn babies. And so in our culture, in our society, in the United States, social justice is a very important thing. And so I've always kind of talked about how that really can apply to being pro-life as well, to kind of standing up for people who can't stand up for themselves, I think is something that's always, can always be popular.
Dragostea față de cei mai vulnerabili i-a insuflat-o tatăl ei, fostul vicepreședinte al Statelor Unite ale Americii, Mike Pence, iar în anul 2018, Charlotte a lansat o carte despre lecțiile pe care le-a învățat de la el.
Charlotte, you have always been in the spotlight. We all know your father, one of the most important persons in the United States. You have an amazing relationship with him. You wrote a book about him and for him, if I can say that. What are the life lessons he taught you?
Yeah, I did. One of the most important things is just being very patient and listening to people, and not assuming the worst in other people. And it's kind of like what I was saying about, the other side in the abortion argument, pro-choice side. I think reaching out to those people and, listening to them is important. I think my dad has always kind of taught me how to talk to people that maybe don't agree with you on everything, and to kind of find some common ground with them.
But there are any lessons you learned your father?
He and I are very close. We talk a lot, even now that I'm married and I've moved away. And I think that we'll still be learning from each other probably forever on some level. And just being able to watch him and my mom kind of go into new stages of life and, figure out the next step for them, I think is really inspiring.
În colaborare cu mama ei a scris și 3 cărți dedicate copiilor. Personajul principal, un iepure, este de altfel unul dintre animalele de companie ale familiei Pence.
With one ear raised, I listen to the words of the pledge and I feel a little confused. What do liberty and justice mean? How are we one nation under God? Grandma says the Pledge of Allegiance reminds us of all the things that make America special. Justice means treating everyone fairly, and liberty is all about freedom.
I have to ask you this because it was a promise I made to myself. What's the story about the most famous rabbit in the United States, Marlon Brando?
Yeah. He is doing well. He's still alive.
Great.
People ask that a lot. They ask a lot if he's alive. He lives with my parents still. We wrote 3 books together. I wrote them and she illustrated them. So they're children's books. They kind of tell the story of our real life bunny, who lives in the vice president's residence, or he did live there, and he learns about being how someone is vice president. And then he learns a lot of other little lessons that we have in the other 2 books. But yeah, that was very, very fun to do. My mom and I are also really close. So just to be able to work on something together like that, we've never done before. And she's a really talented artist. So it was fun for me to kind of work on the book with her.
I think that maybe this beautiful family you have and the values they gave you for life made you such a great pro-life person.
Avortul este o traumă și lasă urme adânci, iar femeile care și-au pierdut astfel copiii trebuie ajutate.
How are these women? And do you think that there is a way they can be healed? Because it's obviously they hurt a lot.
Yeah.
How can we help them?
Yeah, there are so many organizations, I think, at least I know in the US, if you've had an abortion and you're experiencing that post-abortion stress syndrome, there's actually like a name for it. It's very similar, like you said, to PTSD. And people will kind of experience something like that. And I think the sad thing for me is that maybe they think that they're not supposed to feel that they're weird, or they're the one that is sad, but no one else is sad about an abortion. So I think the more that we talk about it and we say, no, a lot of people do feel a lot of heartache after that decision, but that doesn't mean that you're lost. It doesn't mean that, you can't have redemption and go on to be healed. I think that's something that all of us kind of have to come to terms with at some point, is kind of finding healing and being able to move forward. So I hope that women can find that. And I think the more we talk about it, the better opportunities for them to find that care there will be.
Let's imagine a world without abortion. How would that be?
Well, I think it would be great if it just never happened, because of the pain that it causes and obviously the life that it takes. And I think that the more that we work towards changing the culture, like I said, will be the most impactful thing, just to make sure that, we have a group here in the United States that I work with, and they talk about not making abortion just illegal, but they say making it unthinkable, because that's really the ultimate goal. It's their Students for Life of America here, but they talk about that a lot, and I've always liked that because it goes beyond just the political side. It goes into the side of making it something that you wouldn't consider because there are other options and we're going to help you.
Cu iubire și compasiune, doar în acest mod putem fi alături de femeile care au nevoie de ajutorul nostru.
Charlotte, thank you so much. Congratulations on your strong beliefs and activity, and I hope we will eventually have this perfect world that we all dream about. In the end, I want to ask you to give a message for your public here in Romania. I'm sure many people will watch this show.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I just want to encourage all of you, encourage everybody that's watching who is pro-life, or even if you're not pro-life and you have questions about it, I would encourage you to look into it and to just look into the other options other than abortion, thinking about how abortion really can harm people in ways that we don't even really think about at the time necessarily, but even later in life. So, but I just want to encourage everybody too who is kind of in that realm right now. Maybe you're in that environment where it's hard to be pro-life, just to keep going and to find that support system, but just to also do so with love and compassion, because I think that's really the most important thing at the end of the day, is that we show people that we are very loving towards them and we're going to help them.